everybody. This is Anthony Beyonders from Mission Start Podcast. With another, hopefully, a more weekly series of the Mission Start Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Beyonders. With me tonight is Craig Dietz.
All hail the Helix fossil.
Yeah. If there was a Twitch or a chat that was controlling this very podcast, it'd be telling us to say obscene things at our whim.
Probably.
Yes. And then with us tonight is the return of Chris Sturm.
Everyone shall join the followers of the Dome.
I just find it funny that how exactly like a bunch of people can like come together and play a game using chat commands and get through a good portion of Pokemon so far.
Well, I think because it's funny, I've been watching it for a while now,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing that I've noticed is that they added the Anarchy Democracy meter.
Yeah.
And when democracy is in action, they actually get shit done. When it's anarchy, it's just the kid like spinning in a fucking circle. And before it got popularity, like a lot of popularity, which was like day 2, they had already gotten like the first 2 badges, I think, before like it just picked up a lot of steam.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like they already had like a good set of Pokemon to go with, and you know had a good direction. But there are a few things that are massively impressive, like with Anarchy beating Giovanni was insane.
How did that go? I didn't really watch it, but
They lost him the first time, then they woke up at the Pokemon Center, then it took them half a day to get back into fighting Giovanni. And then I think towards the end of the top of the tower they were in democracy mode, and that's how they got back to him so quickly. But then like just before the fight it went back to anarchy mode, and in anarchy mode they fought Giovanni and just barely beat him with Bird Jesus.
Oh man, it's such a cool thing that they're doing, but it's so funny at the same time.
The only downside to it is like when I watch other streams that don't get a whole lot of viewers, the chat is like messed up big time, and Twitch.
Yeah.
Twitch has been working really hard on getting more servers so that way it works better, which I think is really cool. But at the same time, like Pokemon Plays Twitch kind of fucked up. I don't blame Pokemon Plays Twitch. I blame Twitch for not seeing that coming. But
Well, you can't really. I mean, if there was a big event like say Evo coming up, and then there's gonna be tons of people watching and chatting at the same time, then yeah, I can expect that. But I would say nobody really expected this to blow up this big.
True,
Yeah.
very true.
And not only that, but a lot of the people who have been supporting the Twitch page have actually sent messages to the Guinness Book of World Records for most collaborative efforts on a video game, and it's actually being considered. Considering it's had a draw of over 100,000 people.
I wouldn't doubt it for sure. It's funny how that kind of spawned like other things too. Like there's a Twitch Let's Play of Zelda.
My personal favorite one is Twitch versus Twitch in Street Fighter 2.
I saw that too. I was in there for a little bit. It was hilarious because
what I want to do one day is like hopefully it goes for a while, and then like go to a house and play a betting game, and be like when you see two the match starts, be like, all right, I'm going for I got Blanca. All right, you got a Honda? Sweet, let's go.
And the funny part is like it's a Rainbow Edition, so like you push start, your character changes from Zangief to Ryu for some odd reason.
Oh wow, I didn't notice that before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's yeah, I saw that. That was pretty cool. It was hard to do a combo or do a fireball just in general, unless you had to really coordinate with everybody. So, but that was cool. But it's been a while, guys. But other than us watching Pokemon on Twitch, what have you guys been up to?
I'll let Chris go first.
Oh, okay. Well, as of late, I have been working on a few little projects with the team, and aside from that, I have actually become a full-time student after getting laid off from my day job. Aside from that, though, I have been dabbling with a bit of emulators for the PC, so I can play some old PS2 games. And as Craig and I were making some mentions to before the recording, Katamari Damacy's been
Crafts.
Gotta roll up more craft. You right, craft?
Me too.
Shout out to Game Grumps.
And and I'm sure that anyone who has read my Starbomb review, I've made quite a few mentions to them because, well, quite frankly, you can't talk about the band without making good mention to either Ninja Sex Party or Game Grumps.
Mm-hmm. They got a lot of traffic when that hit, actually. So,
nice.
Mm-hmm.
But and not only that, but just the other day, Ninja Sex Party actually put out a new video called Dragon Slayer.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'd say check it out. It's actually pretty darn cool.
I've watched it like 8 times now, I swear.
Yeah, what's funny is that like the music that they do is actually pretty good. I mean, like, I know, like, Danny from the show, but haven't really discovered his channel until, like, recently. I was like, oh, shit. Like,
Well, if it weren't for Game Grumps, I would have never known that Ninja Sex Party existed, so...
Yeah.
I'm actually on the opposite end of that. I found out about Ninja Sex Party in 2011 when they first started, like, having their videos out.
Mm-hmm.
First thing that I ever watched was Unicorn Wizard, and ever since I've been hooked.
Nice.
Would be the one, yeah.
Yeah, right now, I think my favorite song right now for me is the Rhinoceros versus.
Rhinoceratops versus Super Puma.
Yes, that is like my favorite song right now.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I love it, especially the animation for it too. So, it's totally awesome. But that's cool. Welcome to the world of full-time student, where majority of your time is going to be working on homework and projects and less playing games.
I spent an entire week doing nothing but math homework. Help me.
I've been there. Sorry.
Don't you wish Twitch could help you with that?
Twitch does math.
Yeah.
Oh,
that would actually you would never get your homework done. I'm just saying.
Oh no, I'm just imagining like the software just being just a gangbang of numbers.
Gangbang of numbers.
Oh man, I couldn't imagine.
That's like a really sad Sesame Street episode. I'm just saying.
Who would be hosting that segment? Would it be like Elmo or Big Bird?
Oh,
no, the Count.
Easily the Count.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Count. Yeah. 1 plus 2 Yeah, you know what's funny is actually I was reading one of the Penny Arcade's comics the other day, and Lily was it Tycho's? No, it was Gabe's son. Recently got into Magic, and like he's like reading off exactly what the card does, and it has to do with the X rule. As far as like when it comes to people who don't play Magic, whenever you get a card that says like you can tap this many, or you can tap X. X means like whatever amount you want, and like the comic goes into like he gave us secretly says himself like he's like crying. He's like, my son's learning algebra, and then he's like, what? It's like, oh, nothing about math. Yeah, let's play Magic.
That's pretty great.
That's cool. Awesome. But yeah, don't worry, man. It will get easier over time. I've been there. I'm actually in it. I'm in the thick of it right now. But cool. Was there anything else you've been up to, or?
Honestly, not really. I mean that, and plus, while trying to, work on all that math that I mentioned before, I've been watching a whole bunch of old Game Grumps episodes and seeing, the evolution of their channel kind of made me nostalgic of the evolution of our own. So
that's cool. Awesome. Cool. Greg, what have you been up to?
A lot of touching I'm sorry. No, I've been up to a few things. I mean, if you go to the site, this week has been or the past 2 weeks has been quite heavy with material. For example, I had done a Justice League War review, which was a really fun Justice League movie. And you got to keep in mind, I'm not a DC fan. I'm not a huge I don't like Superman almost at all, but like over the past few years, they've actually been doing a lot of really cool stuff with him, and Justice League War is basically like a New 52-ish reboot in animated form. So I do highly recommend it. I got to play a new tabletop board game called Deck Around, which is basically if you've played Boulder Dash, it's like that but dirty. So what Cards Against Humanity is to Apples, Deck Around is that to Boulder Dash.
Oh, okay.
It's really cool, and you can buy the digital copy of the game, so you have to print everything out for like $6 on their site. It's totally worth it. I got
Greg,
to play.
I was gonna ask, didn't we play a similar one like that online not too long ago?
No, we just straight up played like the when I say digital copy, I'm talking about like printing out the cards and stuff.
Oh, all right.
But
Sorry.
what we played online is there's a site that you can play Cards Against Humanity on, and it's all internet based, and you just get 5 of your friends online through Skype, and then chuckle at your terrible jokes.
Like the guy that rage quit so hard at you.
Oh, that dude was hilarious, man. Like, first off, his name was fucking terrible. And
it was two things that we cannot say on the air at all.
If the audience wants to try to decipher what I'm going to say, this is what my friend says around his son, so his son doesn't say these words, which was nice guy Fedora. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, let's go with that one. That it works out. It works.
Exactly. I got to
what
play
about
the
neckbeard Fedora.
Oh yeah.
That would work too. Yeah. I got to play Fables episode or the Wolf Among Us episode 2. Loved the game. I mean, it's one of those things now where like each episode comes out and it's kind of like a 5-part movie because each episode lasts about 2 hours, and but the way that a Wolf Among Us or The Wolf Among Us is written is so very noir-esque, and I absolutely adore it. The fact that I have the choice to make things kind of play out in a particular way just makes these games more fun for me to play. Plus, we got to talk to Anthony, and what's her name?
Kristen.
Kristen got to talk to Adam Harrington, the voice of Bigby Wolf, on the last episode of the podcast. So,
which you should check out. It was pretty fun. No lie,
yeah.
It was pretty cool.
It's pretty rad. But funny thing about that review, by the way, for some weird reason, I wrote it and I was just like, I should mute my phone first. I had wrote a Wolf Among Us, and the game is The Wolf Among Us. So like after I had already published it, I had to go back in and edit and everything is the. So
I hear ya.
I got to see the Lego Movie twice. And play the video game, which that, again, review is up there so you can read everything. But Lego Movie is awesome because everything is awesome. And the video game is not so awesome. Just put it out there. Not so awesome. It's good. It's a good Lego game. But the problem that I have with it is they take levels, or they make levels from scenes in the movie that were very short to make them into full-fledged levels. So if you've seen the movie, there's a part where they're kind of on a pirate ship. And the scene itself doesn't garner a level, but there's totally a level based on that in the game. So it's very confusing and weird, but no, it's a good game. I recommend seeing the movie before you play the game, mainly because it just kind of jumps right into the story without having any kind of like leeway like the movie does. But got to see RoboCop. Now, I do this thing with my reviews, and I have for years now before I joined Mission Start, where if a remake comes out or an adaptation of something I enjoy comes out, I try to give it an honest review. Not put any of my precog like I can fucking read the future. My any of my feelings from the previous stuff. I love the original RoboCop. And I'm not going to go into the new RoboCop going, well, if it's not like the original, fuck it. I'm not going to do that. Because that's unfair to whatever I'm watching that, again, is an adaptation or a remake. So I went in with a fresh mind, and I said, all right, I'm going to give this movie a fair shot.
Right.
I ended up really digging it. Granted, it gets really heavy-handed sometimes with the political and philosophical undertones. And I say heavy-handed in the sense of, like, it's fine to throw those in because those are in the original. But when it's constantly being, like, shoved down your throat and you're just like, I get it. It gets to be a little much. But it's not overwhelming. It doesn't ruin the film, in a sense. So I recommend if you're looking for a fun movie to go watch, I'd definitely go watch it. It's not as action-packed as the original, so don't go in it thinking that you're going to get this big, high-octane movie. There's a lot of dialogue, so.
Yeah.
And presumably a lot less dick shooting.
Yeah. I mean, it was I enjoyed it, but it wasn't exactly the type of movie that people who watch the original would go for. I mean, it was one of those B-type movies to me, so. It was
I'd also, yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I'll let you finish.
No. Go ahead. I was done.
I'd also like to throw a quick shout out to these streamers that I watch daily called Half Empty Energy Tank. I found them. You guys know who the Completionist is, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He had tweeted out that he was going to be playing and finishing, not completing, just finishing, Mega Man X4 at MagFest with these guys called Half Empty Energy Tank, and he had tagged them or however you do that on Twitter. Is it called a tag?
Hashtag?
Not a hashtag. Like you put you basically make it so that way if someone clicks on their name, they can go like at blah 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 blah.
Oh right. Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, I guess call it a tag. But anyway,
Yeah.
So I went to their Twitter page and they said, on this day, watch us at MagFest. And we'll be playing through like 72 hours of Mega Man. And I was like, that sounds like fun. I got nothing else to do while I'm writing articles or while I'm, doing stuff anyway. So for the first week of fucking January, I was just watching them play Mega Man games. And it was pretty cool. There was a lot of games I hadn't seen that they played. Like I'd never played the old ones for the GBA that were like Mega Man Zero or Battle Network. Never played those games, so I got to see them completed, and it was fun. I also got to see ones from Japan that never made it to America, so yeah, it was really rad. And then when Gerard came on, they were trying to raise money for Child's Play, which is if you don't know what that is, it's a organization that gets video game consoles or systems into child hospitals. So these kids, the hospital can't afford these consoles, but these kids are in shitty situations. I mean, you got to be in a hospital all day with whatever disease or problem you have. And wouldn't it be fucking awesome if all of a sudden you got a new video game system?
Yeah, and speaking of the Child's Play charity, I know that we've mentioned Humble Bundle earlier, but right now they are supporting both the Child's Play charity and the Electronic Frontier Foundation. So if you guys were looking at, getting a few games such as Guacamelee, as previously mentioned, then, it all goes towards a good cause.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, they were raising money for that for Child's Play, and they weren't getting a whole lot of donations because not too many people were watching. But what they were doing was really cool. A lot of bands that were going to be at MagFest or guys that rappers or whatever. People that were going to be performing at MagFest had given their Mega Man themed music to Half Empty Energy Tank to give away if people donated. So there was an incentive, you could download all this cool music. So I was able to donate $10, which I thought I was really happy with, and I still have not listened to any of the music that's on my computer now, but I watched Gerard play, and what was really cool was when someone was playing the game, they had two people in front of the camera at all times commentating on either with like talking with the chat or just commentating on the game, and it was fun. It was really cool. I enjoyed the 72 hours. Didn't watch it for 72 hours, but I enjoyed what I watched of it.
Right.
And I even
Right.
followed them on Twitch. And I was like, okay, cool. So a week down the road, they hadn't, started. They didn't put anything up because the guy that runs the site he had the flu. He had caught the con contagion.
Of course.
And well, it's even worse. It's in Maryland and it's covered in snow, so like your body's a little bit more perceptible to colds.
Damn. So you're getting both ends. Oh, that
Oh
sucks.
yeah, it was awful. Like he was talking about recently on a stream that it was the worst sick he's ever had.
Oh wow.
But anyway, so they started streaming and I started watching and I was like, oh, this is really cool. They constantly talk to the chat. They play a variety of different games. They play 3 specific games every day. And when if they finish a game early or if they are tired of playing the particular game because it's just too much for them at the moment, they will play games with audience members. Or they'll just play a random game that makes them happy. So they're like it's and again constantly talking to the chat.
That's awesome.
And so I highly like if you're looking to watch something that's streaming and you want interactivity and you want to watch fun games, absolutely go check out Half Empty Energy Tank.
For sure.
And they all they do is stream. So really it's we have 2 different beasts here. So it's really I'm not like trying to deviate people from our site.
Right. I hear ya.
Guys, don't go to our site. Go to this site. It's really just a Twitch page, but you get the point. They're on the East Coast and they stream every day on the East Coast time from 5 to 1 in the morning. Our time it's 2 in the afternoon to 10 at night. So
Okay. That's cool.
But yeah, so I've been in between of doing all that extra stuff. I've been watching them and supporting them as much as I can, and yeah, it's been fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I'll probably put a link in the show notes about that. So yeah, for sure, definitely check them out, guys. As for myself, I haven't been doing much. I will say though that the last game I did play was the Titanfall beta. And holy crap, that game is so good. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say I played that too, but I was waiting.
Yes. Oh my god, that game is like a hamburger and a donut combined, and
it's yeah. We'll talk about this more on the aftermath, I believe.
Yes, correct. I will.
So we don't have to talk too much here, but
Mm-hmm.
it is probably one of the most fun. I don't want to. That's not good English. It is one of the most entertaining shooters I've ever played.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely hits that. If I were to describe it to anybody who was in the beta, it's basically you think about Call of Duty plus Halo plus mechs. And
yeah, the way that I explained it to a friend was I was like, so if you just play it where your feet are on the ground and you're able to, like just play on the ground and shoot and whatnot, it's very similar to Call of Duty and Halo.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's got like I don't know Mirror's Edge.
Yes, I forgot that.
With
Yeah.
the wall running and the jumping and stuff. But instead of like you tumbling and getting fucking sickness from her like wobbling, like the camera wobbling when you run or when you go to do a tumble and you're just like I'm fucking disorientated now. Like you don't have to deal with that because character's head is constantly straight and it's just fun to parkour in the game.
Yes.
And then, oh yeah, there's mechs. There's fucking mechs you get to drive in.
Funny, yeah. We'll discuss this more in the Aftermath podcast. But definitely, man, when I had the chance, I played that. It was really fun. I'm going to actually go see both the Lego movie and the RoboCop movie myself, actually, too. Quickly, the Lego movie, I felt it started pretty slow, but it got better over time. The ending was that plot twist made a lot of sense. It was funny and it was a pretty cool moment. And I was kind of surprised going back and looking at who was exactly in the movie, the voice actors that were in it, or the actors, I should say, which is kind of funny. It's just kind of hysterical to find out later on. But yeah, and then real quickly, the RoboCop movie, like I said before, with Greg was talking about it, like it was a B-type movie for me. I think that there were some parts of the movie I didn't quite think should be in the movie.
Which
Like,
movie did you say? RoboCop?
yeah, RoboCop.
Okay.
Like the whole switching back from the Fox News station parody with man, was it?
It yeah, that was one of those things I was talking about that gets a little heavy-handed. Like I thought his character was great,
Yeah,
but it's definitely one of those things where it's like, okay, it was like one or twice, like it wasn't that much in the original. Why are you fucking shoving it down our throats in this one?
yeah. I felt like it wasn't well, it wasn't warranted or needed in the movie. You could just throw it out of the way, really, because all it was doing is just getting in the way of the actual plot and storyline. So
Well, they definitely tried to make the plot center around those themes,
hmm
and I feel too strongly because I feel like when you're subtle with your, is what makes a man? Is it his soul, or is it the body in which like the Isaac Asimov shit?
hmm
Um, and then you have the political element of you know are we using too many machines and shit like that? So
yeah. You know what's funny is like during that movie, um, you get one of those guys like in the movie theater sometimes would like they would like respond or like make a statement out loud and everybody has to hear it. Um, like there was one in my theater, like there was a part where it was one of the parts where Samuel L. Jackson um, was talking and it's like uh, he asked a question like, is America allowing I'm paraphrasing, but like, is America allowing murders as a crime? And the guy in the audience was like, of course. And then we all looked at him, plus like gave him that dirty look, but it's like, man, just shut up.
yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't, it was, I would say, a movie that was inspired by RoboCop, and not really kind of what.
Well, I gave it the 8 simply because I was entertained the entire way through.
Yeah, so was I.
I never was upset by anything necessarily. Like, again, I thought I got a little heavy-handed, but not. It wasn't overbearing because the people they had in the roles of those themes were fun to watch.
Yeah.
Jackie Earle Haley's character was definitely that part of like, is your acceptance of robots, is it too strong? Like, and his character was just fun to watch. Sam Jackson's character as the Fox News parody, fun to watch.
Yeah.
So the heavy-handed with him constantly coming on and being that strong political overtone was not bad. It was silly, and I think when you really look at this movie as a whole, there are very strong B movie elements.
Yep.
But there are also very strong, like, serious movie elements.
Mm-hmm.
And you also can't take a movie called RoboCop too seriously.
Oh yeah. No, you cannot. You cannot. But yeah, I mean that's kind of what I've been up to as of late, aside from the usual side stuff. But yeah, you want to hear about that. Anyways, we're gonna take a short break. We're gonna let our sponsors have their time, and then after that, we'll be back. And then for tonight's discussion, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the sexualization in video games and how that is really apparent and something that should be fixed one way or another. But we'll get to that after these messages. Hello, everyone. This is Anthony Bionis from the Mission Start Podcast. And if you enjoy listening to this podcast, as well as our other ones on our website, you can now hear us on Stitcher. You can now hear our show as well on the go with Stitcher Smart Radio, on-demand news, talk, and more on your mobile phone. The latest episodes always available for you, no syncing needed, and no money or storage wasted. Available on your iPhone, iPad, Android phones, and beyond. Downloading is easy. Go to Stitcher.com or check out your app store.
Stitcher, Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Everybody, we're back. We have our waters. We are clear-minded of all things disgusting. And man, you guys missed out on a lot of stuff during the break. But anyways, so the discussion for tonight is the sexualization in video games. And you can expect other things too. But like, okay, let's be real. First off, this has been a known problem within the game industry for a long time. And if you think about it too, think about majority of the people who work in the game industry are majority male, as opposed to female. Obviously over time, it's starting to even out. But obviously, one of the biggest concerns in the game industry is the sexualization of females, in particularly. And I can name you a ton of examples of such and such game, which a scantily clad girl was the main character, aka like what's her name from the main character?
Lollipop Chainsaw.
Yeah, Lollipop Chainsaw. Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I like Suda 51's games, but like the last two were they had.
I also didn't like that game in general. Like anyway, yeah, that's not the topic, but
yeah. But like, yeah, it's been a known thing in the game industry, and it's been, and if you really want to trace it back to its roots, I would say. Now I know this game because I've seen it. It's pretty popular. I mean, not popular, but kind of pretty famous. And I'm not dating myself, although.
You mean infamous?
Yeah.
Just because, like, if it was famous, it would have had good merits.
Right. If you want to go back to its true roots, like it kind of, I guess it started with the Custer's Revenge for the Atari back then, where basically, I mean, obviously the graphics were nowhere near what they are today, but basically you are a cowboy, you are fully naked, and your job was to, impregnate Native American women, or something to that standard. And obviously the it's just giant pixels of what it was back then. But that kind of, if you want to have a starting point, it's from there. And then since then, like, it's just been growing ever since. So what do you guys think? I mean, like, it's a huge topic. Don't get me wrong. It's something that it's warranted discussion. But just in general, like, what do you guys think?
It's more a matter of like figuring out where to start. Of course, we had Custer's Revenge. We've also had other sexualized games, such as the also notorious Leisure Suit Larry series.
Right.
Let's see. I think Rumble Roses was yet another one for something more modern. The Dead or Alive games, for example.
Yeah.
Where you could adjust the boob bounce.
Yeah.
And all these things, like, we get it. It was there to, sell to an immature audience. But at the same time, we have to know, like, okay, it's already been done. It's, just time to move on.
I think the big thing that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to sexuality in video games is it tasteful?
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. I'm a huge fan of the Sacramento group Trash Film Orgy. In every movie they've done, they've made in similar fashion as to the old B movies where women are sexualized in a particular manner. But it's fun. It's not threatening. It's not, demanding. It's fun in a sexualized manner.
Mm-hmm.
There are some movies that shouldn't do it, and there are some movies that it's okay with. And I think that is definitely something that is a line that can be defined in a video game. So, for example, with Dead or Alive, having women in the game who are scantily clad and attractive looking but can kick some serious ass is fine. Adding boob bounce is not okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
With like Lara Croft, for example.
Yeah.
I love that game. I adore that game because you don't ever feel like they're just beating the shit out of her for the sake of beating the shit out of her.
Wait, are you talking about the most recent one? The one that got...
Yeah. The most recent one. Sorry.
Okay, because I was going to say, like, with the original one, little not so known fact. Apparently, her breast size was actually dictated because of coders trying to figure out what would make her interesting, and it wasn't until they expanded her chest up to about 300%.
That's actually funny because that's not what I heard about. That's not what I heard. I had actually heard that a programmer, originally Lara Croft's character was supposed to be a dude, and the programmer was messing with the model of something, and he was adjusting things, and he adjusted the chest in such a way that it made it look like boobs, and they just were like, that's awesome, let's go with it.
Yep, those 3 giant polygons.
Yeah, I thought it was just like that she was already decided to be, or rather, it was already decided that Lara Croft would be a woman, and then for the sake of having her notice, they were just consistently, raised until the developers like really.
Well, they didn't like change it back for the sake of like, oh, it's supposed to be a dude, blah blah. I mean, they kept it there because of that exact reason. Mm-hmm. So your reasoning in that is not incorrect. It's just as to the reason of why is.
Yeah. I didn't realize that I had less than correct information.
Mm-hmm. Well, you also didn't spout it off as it was information. You said, "I believe they did this." So
right.
But yeah, so yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a thing where like take the game Terra for example, the online RPG.
Right.
Why is it that when I get more powerful armor, it's less actual like coverage on the female model?
It's the classic RPG thing. Like, okay, out of the games out there, I would say a good number of them, RPG wise, like the women have very little armor, and the excuse that in the game, at least, or whoever is the creator, like will say like, oh, you're wearing less armor, so you can be more mobile and you be more, have more agility. That's kind of their excuse for having it in there. Well, obviously, they're wearing nothing to nothing as far as like the type of armor that they would have, and that even then it's just like, man, it's not. She would like be destroyed in actual battle. Like there's nothing much to really there isn't much to really to protect there.
Yeah, right. And actually that reminds me that the website College Humor, they ended up making a little video exactly on that, where there are these 2 guys and they have, like this really nice armor. And then there's this woman who comes out and like the blacksmith introduces her and like the guys are looking at her. She has a chainmail bikini. And like, and in his defense, it was like, that enemies would only go after the shiny parts. Right. And and then the female warrior and the other guys, they end up having like this discussion before she eventually like actually gets a like practical set of armor, and the guys are left in these little chainmail briefs, and I think it was like a little dwarf character or something like that runs by, and then like he bashes the guy straight in the nuts because it was the only armored part on him.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
There's a few instances where people have, in my opinion, mistaken sexism for, just a thing that existed. I mean, people have said that Mario is sexist because the princess gets captured. I think what's more sexist are things like Final Fantasy X-2. The way that the women are portrayed or the girls are portrayed in that game is like unbelievably sexist. And this isn't on a visual standpoint. This is on a character development standpoint.
Well, if you think about Square Enix's like character development, like look at their past characters, man.
I agree. I mean, you can. Here's the thing: you can defend them as much as you want, but the point that I'm making is that people, generally speaking, and I think this is something we're going to have to talk about, want to pinpoint sexism to character model and not characters themselves. I think one of my favorite games that had come out on the DS a long time ago was Super Princess Peach. But when you look at that game, the game's incredibly sexist because what are her special powers? Her emotions.
Or I've never played. So could you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, so throughout the game, the idea of the game is a magician comes in and he hits everybody with this like depressed ray, and so he captures, or he gives Bowser this ability, and Bowser hits everyone with this depression ray, except Princess Peach is doing something that causes her emotions to become more powerful. So throughout the game, when you need like to fill something up with water, you make her cry. When you need to like basically be powerful and bash through rocks or something, you need to be angry. When she's happy, she can float. And there's a fourth emotion, but I don't remember what it is. But that's way more sexist in my opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, think about.
I can see the points.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
but yeah, so I think people just don't talk about that often enough. That sexism towards women in video games or in media in general should not be concentrated strictly on visual standpoint, because there are a lot of women out there that are absolutely okay with being half nude.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
true.
That's true.
It's true. But you're correct, Greg. Like, as we were talking about this over Skype, as far as like a female gender role, as far as like sexism in video games, it's also worked the other way too, and how there is sexism within males in video games as well. Because like if you look at, for example, I mean obviously they're unrealistic, but majority of the male protagonists are these very fit guys who are obviously pretty well toned, pretty like muscular, while your average Joe out there is not really not that type of shape unless they really work for it. And like it goes beyond that. It goes to like say like you trace it back, like look at Duke Nukem and how that kind of muscle bound and kind of that's you only can get
you don't have to be sexist. You don't have to be sexist towards women when you make a guy a chauvinist.
Yeah, and that's kind of like imprinting what a female would want like in a guy, or like it would like
all the women want him because like I mean this also goes back to James Bond technically. I mean
that's true, it does, yeah.
And I'm sure it can go back even further than that, but using Duke Nukem as an example, like within the first few minutes of Duke Nukem Forever, well, I won't go into detail about it, but like within the first few minutes that you see that there are these two quite buxom blondes, and and they're absolutely enamored with you, and the thing is that like if you look around, I mean, there's a lot of very suggestive imagery in the game itself, and quite frankly, that just kind of does the whole industry a disservice there. And hell, I tried playing Duke Nukem Forever. I couldn't bring myself to really get too far into it, just because
no one blames you, man. That game was pretty bad, and I agree. There were scenes in that game that were just that had a facepalm, like literally, just because like it was just like I know the game's been outdated, but like come on guys, seriously.
Yeah.
I don't blame 2K, like little off topic. I don't blame 2K for that game just because they were basically given like almost the entire build of a game that was developed 7 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, we got to make this and put it out in a year? Are you fucking serious?" Like so.
Yeah.
I don't blame them at all, but yeah, I think especially in Duke Nukem, like Duke is like, is it okay to have a chauvinist as your main character?
Yeah, I mean,
I'd say it's unnecessary, but again, if you have a character balance, then it's just a matter of varying shades and degrees.
Right.
I mean, is it sexist? I think is the question, because I mean that's the topic of the episode. Is it sexist? Is having Duke Nukem, give strippers money? Is that sexist? That's a thing that happens in real life, and people don't consider it too terribly sexist, because the women are willing to do that. Is Duke Nukem? Is his attitude towards women? Is that sex? Is it sexist for men should men be offended that this is a character that exists?
It's funny that now I think about it. I mean, to throw a wrench into it, you could possibly say this is a reflection of society if you really wanna put it out there.
Sure, absolutely.
Which it could be, because there are men out there who act like Duke, and kind of in that type of way with women. Not to say,
I think she needs some Nerf stairs.
Obviously not every guy is like that. No, there are some guys that are though. I mean, it's
here's in my personal opinion. I'm gonna give my opinion about Duke Nukem.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. Why? Because it's parody,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where the line should be drawn. If you're watching something and the people who made the item, whether it be movie, comic book, TV show, game, music album, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
If the person who made the game or the people who made the game are legitimately think it's okay to portray a woman or portray a man treating women in a derogative manner, and there is no this is for yucks, then it's absolutely not okay.
Yeah.
But Duke, what's that?
Oh, I was going to say, and then to use a more recent example, which I plan on having that review out pretty shortly, is on Ride to Hell Retribution, which, Greg, I'm sure that you've seen the videos on the Game Grumps channel.
Yes, I have. I was actually quite, I didn't watch all of them because I was quite bored, but I know of the sexism you're talking about in the game.
Yeah, well, to put it very bluntly, I would have to say that in more recent events, that's quite possibly one of the most sexist things I've ever seen, just because of the fact that when you help out any woman, whether they're story related or if they just happen to be harassed by a guy, after you're done, beating up, the people who are, harassing her or you or whatever, she will immediately have sex with you, and
that's her penance is having sex with you.
Yeah, and it's extremely unfair. It's extremely distasteful, and well, in a word, it's disgusting.
It's also, and this comes from a visual standpoint, weird to watch. I mean, they're fully clothed, and their face has no animation to it, so it's on top of everything else, just fucking weird to look at.
Yeah, it is pretty weird. I mean, it's funny. It reminds me of the time of GTA San Andreas, where that whole hot coffee debacle happened, and every news outlet was like, "Oh my God, they're having sex in the game!" They're corrupting.
In all fairness, fucking the news will say anything to make video games look bad right now.
Oh, I know.
It's not until our generation starts taking full control of the news when that'll stop.
Right, but I just remember it reminds me of that time where that happened, and it was just it was like two people were having sex. Was it originally a deleted scene, or was it actually in the game?
It was in the code of the game, and you had to mod the game out to find it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So you actually had to put in a lot of effort to get to that.
Absolutely. It wasn't you pop it into your PlayStation and do and you have the code. It was literally it was only on the PC that you could find it, and it was some effort you had to put into finding it. And on top of that, some people, yes, the later that the mod was out, some people did come out with just straight up things you could download that would mod the game out immediately to have it. But you also had to advance in the game fucking super far to even get to it. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of bullshit behind it. And then I remember because the ESRB was well, if this mod is that easily accessible, which it wasn't, then we're going to have to give the game an AO and pull everything else that's rated M on the shelf. And so Rockstar shuffled their asses to get shuffle's not the right word. They hustled their asses,
yeah,
to get that code out of any copies that they could sell, so that way they could get it back on shelf as an M rating instead of an AO.
And for people who don't know, if you get an AO rating on your game, that's kind of like the death sentence to video game, because
no retailer will sell it.
Pretty much. And it sucks.
And not only that, but even then, you would have to find very specific sellers who would even touch your product, because, well, I mean, not to go and use the Holocaust as an example.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think of it in this and I know this is a weird way of looking at it, but you think of an AO game as one of the Jews that had been sent to, say, Auschwitz, and they were identified with that gold star. If for anyone that was within that Nazi-based community, they would see that and figure, oh hey, free target, and and there was a lot of prejudice, but it pretty much is like once you were branded with that, then it was just that was pretty much the end of it right there. And on the reverse end afterwards, if anything that's Inglorious Bastards had any credence to it, if there were scarred Nazis, then of course that retribution could be sent right back to them. Though I don't think that my examples were as
your analogy is solid and where it makes sense. I think the analogy that I would use
but the association.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, back there's I don't remember the time era, but there were people that would get blacklisted in a city, and you would literally, just because of your face, because of you doing something, you couldn't get into any nobody would sell anything to you. You weren't allowed in. And it wasn't until that you fixed whatever problem it was and tried to get off the blacklist, then you were fine.
Right.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like that analogy works. It
and I was going for that just on the basis of a solid identification. It's like, this is you, and this is what you mean to the society.
But here's my question: Is CJ having visible sex in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas any worse than Nico Bellic having sex with numerous women in GTA 4, just not visible?
I think here's the thing. I think when it comes to that, I think it as a medium. I think it's becoming that video games are more being accepted as more of an art form, kind of like how movies are, where we have sex in movies, and people are okay with it because it's depending on the movie, it's portrayed as in like that's part of the story. This is exactly the reasons why this happened and yada yada. Right. When it comes to games, it's getting to that point where
because there's too many adults out. Well, I say adults like we're children. There's too many people who are much older than us, 30, 40 years older, who look at video games as a child activity, child pastime.
Right, and when they see like sexualized characters, then they're thinking like, oh my god, this is corrupting my kid. He's only 9 years old, and he's playing a character that is scantily clad and has big boobs. Like, yeah.
Well, they wouldn't be playing that game if you were a decent parent.
Good point.
But no, like I have two nephews, for example, if we're going down this road, because I think it's very important. I have two nephews. One's 10 and one's 8. One's going to be 9 soon. Or no, retract that. That's a different kid. Anyway, 8 and 10. And their father is a huge fan of Call of Duty. Now, Call of Duty is a violent game. There's blood, people dying. It's a very violent game. He has no issue sitting with them and allowing them to watch him play Call of Duty, the storyline or the campaign. And but what he does is look over and say, this isn't real. This isn't like blah blah blah. Or if there's a situation where boobs or something like that is shown, he tells them to cover their eyes.
Yeah, but like he makes it a point though to say that this is fictionalized.
Exactly. And then my mom did the same thing too. Now my sister's a little different. Like, she won't let him watch cartoons with too much farting or burping, and I'm like, you're weird. But I've asked them, certain questions about, ladies, like, they love the Avengers. And I'm like, how do you feel about, Black Widow? Oh, she's really cool. She kicks a lot of butt. Cool. How do you feel about Captain America? Oh, he's cool. He kicks a lot of butt. So to them, and the reason I say that is because to them, they don't see it. They don't see what we might see. How Black Widow, some people might be portraying her as a victim in certain senses because she's not as powerful as the rest of the Avengers. She's literally just fighting with her fist or fighting with the Chitauri weapons in that. But they don't see that. And so really when you put the eyes of a child on is when you get a really good glimpse as to what is sexist and what's not sexist.
Yeah, because usually that line can, be distinguished pretty early on, and then after that, it's, something that's ingrained more from society. It's like after, I'd say, the age of 7 or so is like when you start really picking up on things and, like seeing, like building certain tendencies. And shoot, I actually just had a fairly good example. But you know what? Actually, I want to go ahead and work with another more recent example in video games. So there is a title, which I'm not sure if you've seen it, for both 360 and PS3 called Record of Agarest War.
No, I haven't. Actually.
I've heard about it. I heard of it.
And so the premise of the game is it's a tile-based, it is a tile-based strategy game where you take your characters and you go and you kill monsters and stuff like that, and the objective is you have to make sure that nobody dies, because if they do, then they can be rendered unusable later on. And one of the things that comes into play is the fact that with the game itself, since the story is not as extensive for each character, they have it broken down into a series of 5 generations. And what it is your goal to do as the main character is there are 3 prospective romance options that do come up. And with each one of those romance options, you are set to basically form a relationship with them, and you then whatever stats and characteristics that the female and male characters may have had, they get passed into your child, which then influences what their stat spread would be. Now, what I was unaware of at the time of purchasing, because I thought, oh hey, it's just a tile game and it would be interesting. Apparently, based off of certain unlockable CGs and anything else, there can be suggestive artwork in there, depicting the females in, well, I wouldn't say compromising positions, but I would say as what's a good way to say it? I don't even know if softcore is the right word to use, but provocative. That's the word I was looking for. And so they would be occasionally depicted like that. Even though it's still rare, it's still something which, it doesn't really, hold much of a place in the game. And it's more just to keep the, audience entertained as they continue the rest of the story.
Mm-hmm. I see. I think the point that I think the thing that as time goes on, as more people grow up either with video games or just in general with society, is that the game industry does have this problem, but it's a problem that it over time is getting better. I mean, lately we've been seeing a lot more video games that have female main characters, but much less sexualized and more of a prominent main character plotline and whatnot type of game. For example, earlier, as Greg was talking about Tomb Raider, the most recent one, it's a more you can make some arguments for a few things, but she is a much better Lara Croft visually as well as storyline wise in this game than she was in previous games. Then another one is Beyond Two Souls, where you're in control of a we'll say like a 13 to 16 kind of a young female, we'll just say that, in Beyond Two Souls in that game. And there has been other games as of late that have been taking a more prominent role with the female lead and not having her scantily clad or have like outrageous sizes for the purpose of eye candy. So it is getting better, but it's still work in progress in society.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to what do you feel is too derogatory? What do you feel is properly sexist? Princess Peach having, her special abilities be powered, or her special abilities be her emotions. Is that sexist? Having Lara Croft get her ass kicked in the new Tomb Raider, is that sexist? Having what was the other example I was going to use? I used Final Fantasy X2 earlier. That entire game is about her like being upset because she doesn't have Titus. Is that sexist? Like, it's all Is Julie Starling sexist? Here's the thing. I don't feel anything is sexist unless it is truly, truly offensive. And everyone is always going to find something offensive about everything. Like I said earlier, my sister finds it offensive that there's farting in cartoons. So everyone is going to find something offensive with everything. I think what it comes down to is your personal sensibilities should probably be lightened a little bit, as long as, and this is a big thing, no one is getting hurt.
Yeah, that's a pretty big thing. I think for the purposes of a video game, I think as an artist, your true intention as far as like what exactly the female character is dressed up as, is your own, is what you plan to portray in the game, as far as like what the meaning behind that is. And yes, like you're correct, like not everybody is going to be offended, and some people will be, even if the game character is not is not there for the wrong reasons and for the right reasons, but people are still going to complain. It's just the world we live in. But I definitely agree with you, Greg. I definitely agree 100%.
Now one question does come up. So and I'm actually going to use two games from the most recent console release. One would be Rise, Son of Rome, and what's going to be coming out in just 2 days, the game Thief, both for Xbox One, and I believe Thief is also available on PlayStation 4. In both games, they do involve the use of a brothel, in the sense that with Rise, it shows up, and I guess you could say the eye candy shows up for, I'd say, maybe about a minute and 37 seconds worth of time, as it gets closer towards the end of the game. And with Thief, where as you're, crouching around and spying on people, you can sneak around and spy in a brothel, and apparently that content may be visible. To a degree, I personally find that it's unnecessary to include that, especially since here we are in 2014, where we've already, like, the purpose of the eye candy, I think, has been more than satisfied, already. And I don't know. I personally find that it's unnecessary at this point, and and in the case of Thief, because it has that content now, my significant other, she now no longer wants anything to do with the game, even though I've already pre-ordered it and had it fully paid off. So to what extent would you find both of those examples either offensive or at this point unnecessary?
It depends on the latency of the brothel in Thief. I think it's fine in Rise. I mean, there's the popular series of God of War has some pretty derogatory scenes, and I don't remember too many people up in arms about that. So
yeah.
What's in Rise doesn't sound too bad to me. But if it's a situation like in oh my god, now I can't think of the name. It was a spy game that took place in France, and it had like a weird color scheme to it.
Oh, Saboteur.
Saboteur, thank you. Oh my god, I almost forgot that. The way you save the game in that is by going to brothels. And there's you get to walk inside the brothel, and there's lots of scantily clad women, and Nobody was up in arms about that, as far as I remember. And so in my opinion, I mean, if like the only way you can regain health is by fucking a girl, yeah, that might be a bit much. But if it's a situation where, the thief goes into a brothel because a brothel is kind of like a what's the word?
Safe haven?
Yeah, safe haven. Yeah, exactly. If that's the case, then I think that's fine. If there's a situation where like he's getting to know a lady of the night, if you will, pretty exclusively, and it's part of the story, and there's a sex scene, fine, whatever. That you see those in movies. I don't see a problem with that. But if he walks in there and he's their pimp and he's backhanding him, then yeah, probably a bit much.
Now, what if it's in a more realistic case where, it happens to be there, and you as the player can spy on people engaging in the act?
If it's like Hitman, then it's fine. Where it's part of the game where you're able to see into windows and see that kind of thing and maybe find the target, if you will. I think that's fine. But if it's just there for the sake of like, I don't know, like an Easter egg, then yeah, it's probably too much. It's probably a little over the top. But again, as I said before, like, is it hurting anybody? Is anyone getting physically damaged by, First off, I don't think Thief is going to sell well enough.
Really?
Oh my god, yeah. I see the game selling probably better on PC than on console by leaps and bounds. But I don't see it selling well enough to garner any kind of real attention within a couple weeks.
Wow. Okay.
That's because of how much attention I've seen it get now. It gets enough attention. I mean, it gets like, for the first week after it comes out, there'll be a bunch of reviews and people will be talking about it, and it'll probably get good reviews. But past that, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go down as like one of the best games ever. And I think that's also a big factor. Is like, will it be forgotten? Probably. So we probably shouldn't be too concerned about the possibility of them, you being able to see into a window of some dude getting his, world rocked by a hooker. I don't think it's important enough to get upset about.
That is true. That is true because in general, like, I think what really sparks this conversation with the sexualization in games is that games that are very popular. And there is a case where this does happen in a lot of games, but not the critically hit games, the popular games. There is in some cases, but yeah, like I think as time goes on and as people grow in society and kind of with their different viewpoints of sexualization in games I think we'll see less of this. And
I mean, like it not to make it sound it's exactly the same, because it's not even on the same fucking level. But it is a good analogy in my opinion. I'm a fat dude. I'm over 400 pounds. I'm working on it, but I'm over 400 pounds. And every movie, every TV show, every comic, every video game that I've ever read has some kind of derogatory statement against fat people. Every goddamn time. It is so rare to see anything that is pro fat guy. So, because of that, do I get offended? Is it something that bothers me when I see it? No, it doesn't, because I don't care. And I think that's where women should kind of see that. No one's actually trying to rape them. No one's actually trying to say that they're just objects. They're just putting it in a game or putting it in some kind of form of media because they feel it's right to the subject matter. If Thief takes place in a time where that's just totally a thing, then sure, why not? I think Game of Thrones does it right with that situation as well. So I think that's a big factor you have to put into context too. Like, people were up in arms, I remember, about Assassin's Creed 2 Brotherhood and Revelation because you could get brothel women to walk with you.
That's true. That's true. It's a funny thing. It's the whole 1980s, 1970s of like the comic book era of like people who were thinking comic books were corrupting young children in that same aspect, and it's that version of that today with the sexualization of games. So yeah.
My final bit, because I think I've spoken enough, is that I don't find it offensive unless they put an actual real woman, like you actually see like a 9mm film. It's like if you see a snuff film in a video game, that's too much. If you see a sex scene in a video game, or you're able to peer into it, be a creeper, I don't think it's a problem. I really don't. I think that sure there are things here and there that are probably too much, but realistically, again, and I go back to this all the time when it comes to controversial stuff. Is it hurting anybody?
Right.
And my opinion is no, it's not. So
Right. Chris, final thoughts on this whole topic?
Yeah, so regarding my last my 2 cents, frankly, I see it as, well, we've come to a point where it's not necessary. I've personally, I think I've seen it show up more in less popular games, as was mentioned by Greg earlier, and that's with the more popular that something is, it seems less likely that that sort of content would show up. Regardless, though, I think that if it's completely unavoidable, which even then I'd still see that with quite a few different shades of gray, I think that like it should be handled tastefully. Now, if it's just in there for the sake of just eye candy, or say, oh hey, by the way, there's this, then no, it's not necessary. And and based on who's taking in that sort of media, it can be construed as offensive. And while I I mean, sure, I do see things and to quite a few degrees think, okay, that's too much. While I can find that offending, on the other hand, I also see that there is still quite a bit of room. Like going from having a female character where her cleavage just happens to be present in an outfit, all the way down to, well, let's go ahead and use the hot coffee scene from earlier.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So I mean, there's a line. It's just a matter of where you want to have that drawn, and what one can consider acceptable. But I do think it needs to be scaled back a little bit.
Okay. Very well put, you guys. My 2 cents on the whole thing is that I think, like I said before, like I think society is getting better when it comes to this issue. Obviously, we're not perfect. We're not there yet. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of contradictions. A lot of people are going to, have a different viewpoint. And I think the one thing I would say is that in a video game, if the person created a game, or the main purpose for what's in there makes sense and means something behind it, rather than just showing it for fan service, or for the sake of having the.
If it's not trying to throw terrible actor Megan Fox into a movie that she doesn't need to be in.
Right. Like it's that person's prerogative as far as like what meaning is behind it. But if it's just there for the sake of fan service, for the sake of getting
trying to get asses in the seats, if you will.
Yeah, like getting clicks. If it's not like done in a proper way, or if it's not done in a parody that is making fun of it, then it's like it's just there to be there to make you just like buy the games because there's boobs and tits in it. So, but
I think a perfect example that I can give real quick to end the podcast or the end of the episode, when the show Spartacus was on TV, there was my friend, because I didn't like the show, and my friend goes, "You should definitely watch the show. It's really good." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to watch that show. I don't think the acting's very good. I think the dialogue's terrible. I don't like how it's trying to bite off of the cinematography from 300. I just don't like it." And he goes, "But dude, there's like fucking and tits and ass and the whole thing, and then guys get fucking cleavered in half, and it's awesome. There's blood everywhere." And I'm like, "I'm not a goddamn Neanderthal, man."
Yeah, that sounds about right. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me for this podcast tonight.
Oh yeah, I was delighted.
Greg, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at ChubRockGeek. You can. I need to, and I'm going to. I promise. Start back up my YouTube blog or vlog, if you will, called The Geek Losing It, which you can find on YouTube. Just either search for Geek Losing It or go to my YouTube channel, just Chubrock. And you can also find my articles and reviews on this very website, missionstarpodcast.com.
Awesome. Chris, where can they find you on the internet?
As it stands, you guys can just find me on missionstartpodcast.com and, of course, the Mission Start Podcast page. As I'm sure that some of you may have seen, I have sort of been making it a bit of a habit of mine to find when, copyrighted games, their images have been taken and used for advertisements, for any apps that are available on phones. So, I just like to sort of throw them under the bus there. But you can find that. And one other thing I'd like to throw in, just for the sake of this discussion, though, is I happen to find a short little, well, I wouldn't say short, but it's this Tumblr, which is called repairherarmor.tumblr. And what they do is they take, impractical female armor designs, and especially with the notorious boob plate, and they go and fix it up and make it to where it's something A, practical, B, stylish, and C, something that you can reasonably expect someone to wear for the outfit that they're putting together. And it's just really nice to check out. So, quick shout out to them.
Nice. Awesome. You can follow me on Twitter at DefectiveNaruto. You can follow the work that me, Greg, and Chris do on the site at missionstartpodcast.com. Please do check out our latest news and reviews coverage. Also, please do check out our anime page on the site. I feel like it's not getting enough love as of late. You guys check it out there. All the anime episodes that we host on the site are updated weekly, and you can watch them right off the site. You don't have to wait. But anyways, just check out our cool shit on our site, along with our YouTube and Twitter and at Mission or Podcast, and all that good stuff. Anyways, with that.